been really excited for this shop tour because it's the biggest change in 19 years of working in this space. Starting about 6 months ago, I began to reimagine my shop and started from scratch in order to create my online course, The Weekend Workshop. I wanted to put my entire woodworking philosophy to the test and demonstrate that a small space is not just affordable and practical, but highly productive. Most of all, I want your shop to be a space you love being in, a place you can look forward to stepping into. This is a 2-car garage built in 1956. It measures 19 feet by 19 feet. It's about 360 square feet, a little smaller than the average 2-car garage today. Like a lot of shops, mine evolved slowly, organically, and kind of haphazardly. Gradually, I'd acquire new tools and squeeze out a space for them. I would collect more and more materials and hardware, always convincing myself that, hey, I may be able to use that someday. It seems like all woodworkers tend to have some hoarding tendencies, and before you know it, a lot of that someday useful stuff just becomes clutter. This affects workflow, your general well-being, and can eventually lead to a loss of productivity. At worst, you may not even enjoy going into your shop any longer because working in disarray is just so frustrating. On the other end are new woodworkers who want to set up a shop but don't think it's possible in a limited space. And let's face it, in the real world, a lot of people need to share shop space with bikes, camping equipment, holiday decorations, or worse, a car. My goal with the Weekend Workshop was to put all the lessons I've learned over the years into action in order to help you rework your shop into a more thoughtful, productive workspace, and to point you in the right direction if you're just starting out. Be sure to check out my 3 principles for getting the most out of your shop over at theweekendworkshop.com. And yeah, sharing a space with a car is definitely doable. To begin this transformation, I stripped my shop down to its bare bones and purged myself of tools, workbenches, and materials that I hardly ever used. It took time and honesty with myself to determine what I really needed in order to be productive. Without a doubt, the absolute best thing you can do to make the most out of a small shop is put everything on wheels. And I mean everything. If it sits on the floor, put it on casters. If you have to share the space with a car, mobile shop furniture makes it a breeze to push things against the wall when you're not using them. And if you're lucky enough to have a dedicated shop space like mine, it's so nice to just be able to rearrange the furniture and test out different workflows. So what I want to do is walk you through my current arrangement and show you all 14 shop projects that are in the Weekend Workshop course. My main organization goal is to arrange tools in zones so that I'm not making a lot of wasted steps back and forth. One of the things I love about this shop is that there's lots of natural light. In addition to the garage door, I've got this window which I installed years ago, and then I've got this door that also lets in a lot of light. And what I did when I started redoing my shop this time is I finally got rid of my old fluorescent lighting fixtures and I replaced them with all these LED fixtures. These are energy efficient and they're super bright. Each one of these little 4-foot sections is 5,000 lumen of brightness, and they all just kind of plug together in whatever configuration you like. Even though I've got really good natural airflow in this shop with the doors, I thought it was important to install an air filtration unit. So this one hangs in the ceiling and it's really handy to use. It comes with a remote, so you can just turn it on this way and run it for an hour or so to completely remove all of the sawdust. You probably already know that this is where my table saw normally lives. I like to be able to hook up my shop vac from here right into the saw, and that way I've got the wood going out this way. I can use my basic mobile workbench as an outfeed table if I need to. And speaking of which, this is my my basic mobile workbench from the Weekend Woodworker course, which I use all the time. And I like that it's so lightweight and portable that I can work on something on my table saw and then just come right over here to store pieces and assemble parts. Over here I've got some of my existing shop furniture, this sliding door cabinet, and then I've got my drill press here. I'm using this stand that I made years ago, and it's a little bit too tall for this. So I'm gonna be making a new stand for that drill press fairly soon. It's just uncomfortable to work on it this high. These are a couple of my favorite projects from the Weekend Workshop course, and they're also two of probably the most time-consuming ones. They're not difficult to make, but there's a lot to them. And of course, this is the BMW Plus. It's the same design as the BMW, but I've got added shallow drawers for holding tools, and of course, cabinet or doors here for holding whatever you want. This may seem really daunting. It's 73 drawers on it, but believe it or not, it's not that difficult to make. You just have to find your zen spot when making all of those drawers. And I still have a bunch of empty drawers here. I don't know what I'm gonna put on, but it's for hardware. I've got like bolts and nuts and all kinds of things in there. And moving over here, this is the tool cabinet from the Powered Up course. I still get a lot of use out of that. And then right here is where my regular BMW is usually parked when I'm not using it. You're gonna love this one. This is my mobile miter saw stand. It takes up hardly any space, but it's got extension tables built into it. That way your lumber is completely supported all the way across. And I've got built-in extension fences so that you can clamp stop blocks to either side as you need. And I've added a drawer here for storing clamps or whatever accessories you have. And down here I've got just a cut-off bucket. I found when I was using my miter saw a lot, I would end up with little cut-off pieces, and I was always just trying to throw them into the trash, and I'm horrible at basketball, so I could never really get them in there, and then they would just pile up. So put a can right there. And over here, I've added a modular hand tool panel. So what I've done is I pared down all of my hand tools to really the essential ones. And this is a French cleat system so that I can change these around whenever I need to. I've got, you know, pliers, a spot for wrenches, screwdrivers, and whatever. One of my fundamental principles when setting up this shop was to keep like tools with like tools. In other words, I've got a sanding station here that I can keep my most commonly used power sanders. I've got spot for sandpaper for the random orbit sanders, and then slots here for hand sandpaper. Plus, I've got drawers for sanding blocks and other accessories. I've got a drawer here for even more. One of my biggest problems was having tools in different spots in my shop. It was just a lot of wasted energy running back and forth trying to find things. So I have a drill and driver cabinet here that I finally have everything that I need for my drill and my driver, and I've got a spot down here to store those as well as the chargers here. I've kept this top part empty because I like to pull out my drawer drill bits and look through what I want here rather than having to take this over to wherever I'm working. I can get out the drill bit, put it on, and then I can just slide this back into position. Okay, out of all of the projects in the Weekend Workshop course, this is my absolute favorite. I just love this project. This is the HalfLap handy cart, and it's all made with HalfLap joints. It's a really good exercise, and there's just about a million uses for this little thing. I find myself wheeling it around all over the shop. Right now I keep my safety equipment on there for the table saw, so I can just wheel it right up to the saw whenever I want to use it and then just put it right back. And of course, right next to it, I've got my drop-down work center. This is one of my favorite designs I've ever come up with. I just love having this as just kind of like a home base. I love to just keep some hardware in here, and then I use this to set my laptop on when I'm looking at plans, or just to set things on, maybe as an assembly table. And again, a fair amount of drawers, but not difficult to make at all. And moving over this way, I'm getting into kind of the lumber storage area of my shop. This is my mobile lumber cart, which stores solid lumber on one side, and then it's got sheet goods on the other side. I designed this initially a number of years ago, and for the weekend workshop, I've updated the plans and with all new video and simplified the building process a lot. Oh man, have I built a lot of clamp racks over the years, and I think I finally got it right this time. All of these seem to be working out really well. This is a great space, by the way, for storing things behind the door. A lot of times that's kind of an overlooked spot. I've always liked to keep my clamps over here. This time, in keeping like things with like things, I've included a box here to store my glue and a towel and glue spreader. So again, everything I need for clamping is all in one place. This flip top tool stand is one of my favorite space-saving units. So I've got my disc and strip sander on one side, and I can just flip it around for my spindle sander. I've included a drawer down here to store extra sanding discs and other accessories for both tools. And over here I've got my router cabinet that I built a long time ago, and I can just wheel it out into the shop whenever I need to use it. I designed this lumber rack to be lightweight, it's easy to build, and you can put the entire unit on the wall. And I designed it so that it would store 8-foot long boards that won't fit into my mobile lumber cart. One of my design considerations on this unit was to keep it fairly shallow. I don't want to store a whole lot of lumber on this that I have to fish through and find what I need. So it only extends a little ways out from the wall. This storage unit is the very first project in the weekend workshop. I wanted the very first project to be a super easy one that you could just bang out in an afternoon. This is all made with dimensional lumber that you can pick up at the home center, and you don't need to rip any of the pieces down. You won't need a table saw. You can just use a miter saw to cut all of the pieces to size and just easily assemble it. I'm calling this the Rio, that stands for the Really I'm Organized Shop Storage Rack. And moving over here is my finishing corner. I've got a shop utility sink, and I've got this cabinet that I also built years ago that stores some finishing stuff. And over here are my spray paints. New for the course is this. This is kind of a silly and fun project. This is the ultimate finishing cabinet, and basically it stores everything for finishing. And I even built a Lazy Susan that you can use on top so that you have small projects. You can finish them with spray lacquer and you don't have to keep moving all the way around. It's got storage for brushes, stir sticks, and in the front I've got rollers for paper towels, craft paper, tape, mineral spirits, extra rags. Basically everything but the kitchen sink is on this ultimate mobile finishing stand. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed taking a look into my 2020 workshop. It's come a long way since 2001. It's a much simpler, cleaner, brighter space now, and it's one that allows me to really be at my most productive. I know where everything is at any moment, and I'm not so distracted by tools and materials and just other junk that just takes up space. Don't forget, if you'd like to learn my 3 principles for getting the most out of your shop and to check out the Weekend Workshop course and all it has to offer, head over to theweekendworkshop.com. It took me 6 months to create this course and over 40 years of experience to figure out what it should cover in order to help anyone create their own woodworking sanctuary. Thanks for watching, everybody.